Yes, it's on now. No tablets. No tablets.
Circle instead of a lecture situation.
That would be I would prefer that much better.
Circle up if you can.
It'll be cozy.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. I know it was a small turnout at church today, but this is John Kalohn, a long time friend of mine, who is part of the Johnson. Yeah. We knew each other when Jesus was a child.
Jerry's only helped me with like 6 or 7 real estate transactions in my life, so.
Yeah.
We're
anyway,
bonded
he's
in
part
many
of the
ways.
Johnson County Livable Community on Aging.
For Successful Aging.
Successful Aging Commission. And they're developing a survey, and I'll let him take it over.
Thanks, Jerry.
What?
I got one.
Oh, he's got one. Oh, you got one. That's right.
He's already got me wired up. Can you hear me now? I'll move the microphone up to see if that helps. And I can also talk louder too. As Jerry said, I'm John Kalohn. I'm with the Johnson County Policy Board for Livable Communities for Successful Aging. What I wanted to do today was talk to you a little bit about our group, and then I have a fun activity for us. We're working on developing a survey. The policy board was developed around 2005 with a exploratory group that was looking at working with the AARP's age-friendly communities certification. And they actually were awarded that back in 2021. And part of the certification process with AARP is you need to continue to do process improvement, build new programs, continue to work on improving the age friendliness of your community. So in doing that, part of it is we need to do a survey periodically to gather information from the community so that we can look at our strategic plan and make changes to that as to what the current needs are for the county. This year we've been working on developing the survey, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's been an ongoing project now for over a year. As you can imagine, it's pretty intensive. But a little more about the policy board. We actually have 6 different action teams, and the action teams are made up of not only board members, but they're also community members as well. So we have folks that volunteer to work with us. We have a housing action team, and the housing action team has been very active in the last couple of years on working to get jurisdictions, towns and cities within Johnson County to add to their ordinances the permissions for accessory dwelling units. Those are also known as auxiliary dwelling units or ADUs. So some of you are familiar with those. And what those basically are is to allow for additional housing. And if you think about where all of us are in our lives at this point, We may have aging parents, or we may be aging ourselves and want to live with family members, but you don't want to be right in living with them side by side. The ADU options provide for taking and converting a part of the home into a self-contained unit that has living space, cooking space, but it's segregated from the main household, or building an additional standalone unit on the property as well. So we've been working with the community on that. We've seen some positive steps forward. We've seen some people kind of, community members panic over what that really means and getting confused about it. So we're continuing to work on that. But that's the action, that action team is working on that. We also have the Falls Prevention Group, and they sponsor every year our Healthy Aging Fair, which is coming up this August, and I'll look up the date for this August, yeah, this month. While you guys are working on a task, I'll look that up and give you the location and date information on that. We have a communications committee, which is obviously involved in communicating with the community about the things that we're working on. We do publish a monthly newsletter. If you're not familiar with it, you can sign up for that on the Johnson County Livable Communities website, which is part of the county website structure. We also have Dementia Friendly, which is part of a national organization that action team works on, working with businesses and organizations to help them understand these, indications of dementia. It's very important for folks that are working in, fields like financial services to recognize when someone may be having issues and what steps that they can take to assist those individuals. And then our last action team is the one that I'm on, and that's the AARP Age Friendly Task Force. And let's talk more about the survey. The survey, which I brought with me today, and I have pens if you need a pen to complete the survey. What the survey is allowing us to do is to look at the 8 domains for the AARP Age Friendly program and asking specific questions so that we can, as I said earlier, gather information about those topics so that we can update and revise our strategic plan and also meet some of the requirements for AARP for the age-friendly recognition. There really has been a shift in the AARP age-friendly program from when we started years ago to now, where initially it was focused on successful aging and age-friendly, and it was focused more towards retired folks. And now AARP is really focusing on extending that and talking about age-friendly for all ages. So as you grow within a community and you age, what are the things that have to change or be available for individuals to successfully age? The 8 domains I'll talk about briefly. So the first one is communication and information, and this is just how people go about finding information. Health services and community support, so the availability of medical care, physical therapy, vision, things like that. Transportation, we asked some questions there related to how people get around, and civic participation in employment. And the next one is social participation, so things like activities outside the home, like coming to church, is an important area. Respect and inclusion, housing, and then the last domain, the 8th domain from the AARP category is outdoor spaces and buildings, and looking at things related to facilities that people might use. And then we've added a 9th domain, given some of the experiences that we've had here recently in the past few years, the derecho, I think you can remember. Iowa City really didn't get hit too hard, but Cedar Rapids really got hit seriously with 2 weeks, people without power for 2 weeks. So disaster planning is our last domain, and we're going to ask you some questions about, have you thought about that? What are you doing? So part of this, I think, as you go through the survey, it will take about 15 minutes to complete. You'll learn something about each of the categories, and then there's a conclusion page which will ask you for some of your thoughts. I have 2 tasks for you as you go through the survey. One is to complete the questions. That's the easy part. The second part is if you're going through a question, you don't understand something, you feel free to write. This is my version, so you can see I've got quite a bit of commentary. This is from our last focus group that I worked with. Write down notes in the margin real quick as you go through, so that we're actually going to walk back through the survey to see what kind of comments you guys have, what questions you may have, if something was not clear. My first group that I did this past week, lots of great information, so I'm hoping that I'll learn something new from this group, or you may identify some of the same things, which shows me that it's a consistent concern. What we'll do with this, the results of a meeting with, like this group, we'll collate it with the others. We'll make final revisions to the surveys before we launch it in September. So does anyone have any questions right now?
Maybe I just didn't hear it, but how will the survey be used later on?
So we'll use the results from the survey to analyze the data, of course, and understand how different groups of individuals answer the questions, what their concerns may be. And that will be used for the policy board, by the policy board, to update and revise our strategic plan. One of the primary functions for the group is to make recommendations to the County Board of Supervisors on what are things that we can do to improve our livable communities for successful aging, in terms of are the things that we can do to make life better for folks. We're also reaching out to the rural communities within Johnson County, because this is a Johnson County program, and we've been talking with mayors from all of the townships within Johnson County and recruiting their support as well. So this is not just Iowa City, North Liberty, Coralville centric. It really is designed to get input from the entire county. I think those of you that have lived for a number of years, like I have in this area, lots of support services within this community here, but as you go further out, do they have the same type of supports? In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. Sure. Anything else? If you could just take one and pass it along. And then, I do. Who needs a pen?
I assume you're going to take these back with you?
I am going to take these back with you because I'm going to collate all of the information. Just pass that around and.
I can't use this against collection.
I sure do. There was some coming that way.
There's people here that haven't gotten it yet.
Just change something. I think I have the right answer.
Oh, you can't have the red one. That one's mine. Yep, they're coming right there.
No, this. I'm just putting it back here.
Do you have any more?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
How about that?
Is this yours? Perfect. No. Okay, there was a purse left downstairs. Excuse me for interrupting.
No? No worries.
Not that one. Okay.
It's mine. So it'll take you about 15 minutes to go through the survey. We're not going to crack a whip on you, but I just want you to have a sense of how long this is going to take. So if you have questions while you're doing it, just write down the questions in the margin. And then when you get done, we'll reconvene and talk about it. Oh, sure.
Thank you.
question now or wait till later?
Wait till later. Just right at 10.
First with JB.
I think Jerry was one of the first ones done.
I don't count.
Well, at this point, I'm going to ask the folks that are still working on it to just stop for a moment. I'd like to go through the survey, and then the folks having completed will let you finish up after we get done with the conversation, if that's okay. So the first question that I have for you is the length of the survey. Did you feel like it was an okay length, too short, too long? Adequate?
It's average, I think.
Yeah, it depends on the situation I mean, like at the fair, you got people walking by, they're probably gonna want 5 questions. But if you're in a situation like this, and you're planning ahead to complete a form,
Mm-hmm.
it can be as long as this.
What?
More time to
Right.
think about and give an honest answer to
Right.
things.
So in terms of format, if you had the opportunity to complete this on like a tablet or a computer, would you prefer paper or doing it on the computer or a tablet? Paper, raise your hands. If you had the opportunity to take this on paper or a tablet or a computer, or I'll even offer you a third option, complete it by phone with someone reading the questions to you. So of those 3, how many would prefer paper? Computer?
If you can write open-ended comments,
Yes. The questions that have the open-ended comments, yeah, that's part of it. Phone?
No.
No.
I mean,
When I say phone, I mean talking with someone on the phone to complete the survey for you.
yeah, when you've got one question and 14 or 15 answers.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. It's a lot on some of them. Okay. So kind of split between phone and paper and pencil and computer. The last group I did, all of them said they wanted to do it on computer, but they were kind of an unusual group. What about the demographic questions? I'm not going to go through each one of those, but anything jump out to you that you didn't like, or did you just go, these are kind of the standard questions that you're asked when doing a survey?
I wasn't sure if I should be answering just for me or for my community. Like, I don't need low-income housing, but it's a need here.
Right.
For the demographic question,
Yeah.
it's unclear to me why you single out Hispanics for a separate question and not just put it in question 4 where it asks about ethnicity.
It's a standard, in terms of doing survey work, it's standard to break out Hispanics.
because it's an ethnic.
It's an ethnic group, it's not a racial group.
Hispanic can be white, black, or mixed.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are probably, I mean, most of us are probably fairly affluent. There are many populations that aren't. And I think that the survey would need to be somehow asked, they should be able to somehow get to that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the south side of our cities
Yep.
and other outlying communities.
Right. Yep.
They would need paper more often.
Yep. So let's walk through each domain in terms of whether you had any questions or a question confused you. So looking at domain number 1, we had 2 questions in that section. Was anything confusing? Do you think we needed any changes to any of the wording? Domain 1.
Well, I use a lot of monthly publications, but not so much the daily newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
And I use information from social groups that I'm in, which includes some friends, but to me it's a separate category. And my depend on the topic. I'll look one place if I want entertainment, but I look someplace else if I want to look for, you know, essential services.
I don't know if this matters, but I added things that come in the hard copies that come in the post office, come through the postal service.
Yes.
Right, flyers. They're not newsletters. They're not newspapers.
Direct mail.
Direct mail. Thank you.
Yeah, that would be a
I
good
mean,
addition.
my example is Riverside Theater. I can go to their website, I'm on their email list, but it's the thing that comes in the mail that I stick on the refrigerator.
Jerry's events calendar. I was just saying that, yeah, we have it on ours too.
Direct mail is making it.
I don't know, why you didn't, you know, include informational magazines that will, which there are many. We get art, we get our newsletter.
So that's what I mean by monthly, like Little Village and.
Okay, well, and then consumer reports, that's, you know, I've learned a lot about how to maintain a house and get the emergency kit together for people like that. I don't, you know, I don't know. Is that not possible? I mean, this isn't art.
No, this is exactly why we're doing this, because we're human, we miss things. So if we said monthly subscriptions, monthly magazine subscriptions, yep, yep, well, that's a good point.
Or something like Little Village that just pick up at the news.
Your Honor, this is a good answer.
Yeah, don't say monthly.
Good answer.
Subscription. And we don't pay for that.
But Laura, like when you mentioned flyers, mail flyers, do you get those because you subscribe, because you're a member or a regular contributor
Both.
to them? Or
Both.
do you think they're sent to the whole world?
Well, I mean, Riverside is one example, but there are other things that just come, and you don't know how they got your name. They sell mailing lists, so.
Yep.
You mean birds are nesting in your gutter pipes?
Jerry's monthly mailings from the real estate agency. All the events that you ever wanted to attend.
Yeah, me neither. How do you get on that?
And buy a house.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, it's on. I might have it off in the back. I'll have to go check.
Let's look at domain 2. Any questions or things that were confusing in question 3 or 4?
There's a lot I haven't even looked for, so it's hard to answer.
I would say the first question in 3 was really confusing to me. Does it mean, does it exist, or do I use it? And once I turned the page and saw the next questions,
Yeah, so question 3 is directed at, does your local community have? So that's just,
no, not that. I'm under domain. Did you say domain 3?
2, sorry.
2,
I may have
sorry.
said 3. If I said 3, I apologize.
Sorry, domain 2. I'll shut up.
You can bring it up in domain 3,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Minor point for the first question. It says, does your community have the following health service? And I had a little pause because they might have it, but I might not be aware of it. And I'm wondering are you aware of this service? Might be a better way to.
Well, that's right, what I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. Anything else on 3 or number 4?
Oh, I see the questions. That might be confusing. The question 1 under domain 2 is number 3. Numbering the questions.
Say again? Do we have problems with the numbering?
Yeah, so domain 1 has 2 questions.
Yes.
1 and 2. Domain 2
There's 2 questions.
is number 3, number 4.
Yeah, I understand.
Instead of 1 and 2,
Yep.
Maybe to distinguish between 3 and 4, you could capitalize community versus you,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Anything on 4?
Question.
Question 4, yes.
So, like question 9, when considering work opportunities, and then we don't hear about volunteer community.
Well, we're on question 4 now.
We're on domain 4, right?
No.
Question 4.
You know,
That's why it's confusing. So doing like 4A, 4B.
Yeah, I know.
what if there were no domains in the study with transportation? You know, what do the domain numbering, what does that add to the
We're just changing
Yep.
to A, B, C, D.
conversation? Or what?
Yep, understood.
You're dealing with retired college professionals.
I know that.
People design questions and tests their whole lives.
John worked at ACT years ago, and then what was your last job?
I was in testing still, so.
Yeah, but for the SEC?
No,
I can't never remember.
the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. That's a mouthful. Yeah, so the domain numbering is just for convenience for the pilot, so don't worry about it. All right, we're on question number 4 in domain 2. Anything on that?
Parking, to me, is separate from transportation. I should have added, and do you have to use technology to pay for your parking? Yeah.
Depends on where you are. Sometimes there's,
It's recently been a big deal for me, so. I went to Minneapolis.
all right, moving on to the next domain, questions 5, 6, and 7.
So question 5 under domain 3 is the one that I said, it's completely unclear to me. Does it mean, does it exist or do I use it? So I understood it as, is there available transportation that allows you to attend and participate? But I might have misunderstood it.
And I interpreted it to where I was meaning, do you have your own transportation, in which case the answer would be NA.
Well, and I had the same kind of question, but my answer is, if I use my car, yes, they're all available, but if
Right.
I'm using some other,
Right.
it's harder to, I don't know if this or that is available.
That, I think that's.
So is transportation in question public or private or both?
The answer is specific to your situation. So this is a comment that came up in the last group, and what we're leaning toward doing is putting question 6 first.
Yeah,
Because then you're asked, okay, what's your mode of transportation?
yeah.
What modes do you use?
So on number 3, or number 5, number 5 and domain 3.
Yeah.
I only answered no if it was something that I had attempted to find and had been unable to find. If I hadn't even attempted it,
Mm-hmm.
then it was not a problem for me.
Right.
And I added, I don't know, as a separate column, because that, to me, that's different than not irreversible.
Also on number 5, I'm just wondering whether the main verb in the question would influence your answer. Like if you said, does the availability of transportation allow you to attend. And down there under C, worship services, for example. I don't know how to answer that. I'm here. But I'm on my own.
So I put I don't know.
So I put down no for that, even though I'm here.
Probably correct, so.
Yep, I understand. I
example-
understand the confusion.
Yeah.
For example, bus services are not currently available on Sundays
Right.
for a lot of people, for everybody, I think.
However,
There's been discussion about that over the
our
years.
living community provides transportation to church services.
So she would answer
Yeah.
yes.
That's-
I mean, yeah, it kind of depends on your
Yep.
situation.
Yeah,
So I've heard you. I've got comments. We can move on to the next one. I understand the confusion,
Does
and this is
availability
why we're doing this.
affect your
Yep.
ability
Yep.
to attend?
Yep.
Or something like that.
Yep. Anything on 6 or 7?
Um, 7 just raises an issue that I would just share that isn't singled out in the questionnaire, but since you said your concern is all ages, the availability of safe biking lanes is really important, I think. And that in and of itself, hasn't been really pulled out. It's just subsumed under other categories. And I know that, I happen to know, because I know cyclists, that there's, in downtown Iowa City, there's some of those green zones painted on the streets, but it's real clear that most people don't have a clue what they mean. So that's about education, about bicycling.
Right.
This is not a safe town to bicycle as a main mode of transportation, nor is Johnson County roads. So,
And, sorry, you want to?
no, that's just,
As a separate comment, I would add that I wish the bus routes, which I used to use, were easier to read and understand. So that I can look up something for 2 days from now and figure out what would be the route and how much time
And-
would it take to get there.
Right. And what time is the bus going to be at that stop?
Yes, what time would I have to get there in order to get to my,
Yeah, it'd be nice if it was like GPS, where
Mhm.
it said, it will take you this long, you've got to catch this bus at this time, and then you've got 10 minutes before you catch the second bus.
Right.
Just, how do I get from here to there?
And by the-
especially ahead of time. It'll tell me right now, but there's no way to say for tomorrow.
Yep.
I don't know. I'll put in a plug also for a rural transportation system. I mean, Iowa City does have buses with reasonably convenient schedules, but there's, as far as I'm aware, no transportation option for people in rural Johnson County.
It's dependent on your situation. There's Johnson County Seats, which does, but again, there's no mass transit option for folks that live in Hills to get into Iowa City.
And even if you have to go from like a spot in Coralville to a spot in Iowa City, the only way to do it is to go to downtown and then.
Come back. Yeah.
And especially stupid to me is that to get your, I forget exactly what it is, to get your, some kind of driving pass, a bus pass, in order to buy a bus pass, you have to go, but the bus doesn't go there.
Or with the recent move of MVA out to Coralville, there's no bus service out there unless they've changed that.
But
Yeah.
there's a shuttle at the VA. VA has a shuttle.
Yeah, I'm talking about the motor vehicle
Oh,
move.
okay.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, let's move on to domain 4. And we're looking at questions 8, 9, and 10.
See, I didn't see item 10. Oh, George.
I have a question, number 8.
Yes.
I believe there should be a C, don't know.
Yep. We got that comment before.
And what does sufficient options mean? I mean, there's work and then there's good work, satisfying work.
Mm-hmm.
Volunteer, work that uses your skills, et cetera.
Right.
I guess my question was, should volunteerism and work be separated?
They are.
They are.
So this is,
Not totally.
Paid work, because I just do volunteer.
it's in the next, it's in one of the later sections where we split up work and volunteer.
It's confusing because there's the word volunteer when you're reading question
Mhm.
and your work.
Yep.
Yeah, Catherine's comment, maybe it should say paid work to make it clear. I agree with that.
When I got to question 10, I thought, well, they've already, or 11, they've already asked me this. Well, there was that one word for volunteer.
Yeah, one suggestion that we got from the first group was to reverse and do volunteer opportunities first and then do work.
Yeah, on different pages too.
Yeah.
Don't know that there's going to be a separate question.
And to take out the word volunteer under whatever that is, number 8, under question 9, reword it so you're not using the word volunteer in a question about work.
Fourth from the bottom there, experience and friends.
That's just an oversight by the person that revised that question before we did this. That was me.
There's 2 places where it appears.
Yep, I got it.
And pay is also a factor for whether to participate in, or is that covered somewhere? The amount of pay is an important consideration for a decision to participate in work.
Pay and benefits.
Okay, good one. Anything else in domain 4? 8, 9, 10, and 11.
So then work shouldn't be here.
Yep. This is what happens when you meet with a group and they say, make this change before we do the pilot, and we miss something. Thanks. Got it. Okay, moving on to social participation questions 12 and 13.
Yeah, number 12. If you offer social activities, yes or no, but if you put that together with limitations, then you're running into the weeds, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So you might want to separate those 2 areas.
I think for people living in retirement communities, social activities are much more organized than for people living in a general community.
Right.
You need to make some kind of differentiation there.
For the first option under question 13, is the point of that question to say that activities allow a caregiver to attend at a reduced cost? I mean, obviously, an activity, you can attend an activity independently or with a companion. There's no stipulation about that. But is it really, the point is to give a reduced cost or free attendance for a person to attend with a caregiver?
I will go back to the group on that one. Thanks. Any other comments? Okay, moving on to domain 6, which was one question, number 14.
I just thought of this, so I didn't write it, but somewhere there ought to be questions about access to technology and how much information and participation is limited to only those who use QR technology, for example. Or is there access to everybody?
Would that include asking about access to, let's say, public access to the internet, let's say? Like, how easy is it for someone who doesn't have internet service at home to find a place to access the internet? I mean, that would be something to ask, and it includes, like, I don't know how you ask this, but Iowa City doesn't provide, as far as I know, Iowa City doesn't provide free public Wi-Fi.
The library.
Library does.
No, the town. There are
Correct.
towns where no matter where you are in town, you can access Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so that's one that we won't get into in this survey, but will probably come out in a follow-up survey in the next 2 to 3 years. Yeah, so just to let you know, the original version of this, the first version after we put everything together, was over 50 questions. So we had to trim it down to make it more manageable. So we just had to make some decisions of that's the one that we're interested in, but it goes in the follow-up pile for the next survey.
In the world of short attention spans, this is long.
Yeah. It's much better than it was. Anything else on domain 6, number 14?
It's a good thing to fill out, because as an neighbor, maybe you realize I haven't thought about most of that.
I agree with that. As a person that doesn't want to claim older yet, well, I don't. I'm like, holy crap, I have to start thinking about this stuff now? Damn.
Yeah, well,
That's
some
true, I
Some of
don't-
it you should be thinking about before.
I know, but I don't. I haven't.
Let's move on to the housing domain, and this has got 3 questions, 15, 16, and 17. Anything on 15?
I just inserted something. I know you can't probably fix this with your questionnaire, but there are 3 things that are very interdependent for an individual often. Housing, transportation, and work.
Yes.
We had a friend who lived here in Coralville. He could have gotten a better job in Iowa City. He couldn't go there. You know, I mean, there was no way he could get there for shifts and so on. It happens to a lot of people. So I don't know which of these things is most important, but it seems to me that transportation in this area, Coralville, Iowa City, and larger Johnson County, is actually the only thing that can help people who can't drive to get better jobs and have better houses.
Yep.
And so separated, it's not the whole picture. I don't know if you can get that. I really try.
Because isn't it the case that oftentimes people can't get to the places that can offer help because it's not accessible by easy transportation?
Right.
Like the food bank.
Good points. Okay, so looking at anything on question 15, concerns, questions?
The ADU should maybe be spelled out.
Yes. You were consistent with the first group. I figured someone would point that out. '16 is kind of straightforward. Anything on 17 that you found
I would
confusing?
add a column that says, I don't know.
And consistent with the first group. Moving on to outdoor spaces.
I would add a column that says somewhat.
Yeah, that's a comment that we had from the other group.
Fix mine.
Excellent. Okay, anything else on number 18?
Just about 18 again. I have found sometimes park restrooms are locked. The park closest to where I used to live is like that, you know. It's a new building, I assume it's nice and well-maintained, but
You can't get in it.
you can't get in.
Yeah.
And there's no place or no person to ask for a key.
Homeless people, and yet people that are there for recreation can't use it.
Disaster planning.
Question 19 is kind of eye-opening. It's one of those questions that, oh my God.
Yeah. I believe the comment that first comment I got from the other pilot group was, I feel very inadequate in this area. And I was one of the ones that crafted this question. And I was kind of like, yeah, there are things on this list that I haven't done yet either. But again, this is one to help the county understand, so where are people in thinking about this? Because I think we all kind of take the attitude, not going to happen to me. But with more severe weather events coming up, I think it's going to be a challenge for all of us. Is there anything that we're missing in those lists?
This may not, I don't know if you consider this disaster planning. I'm trying to think of how to say this. Awareness about emergency procedures when there is something like an active shooting situation going on.
Something like a what?
Active shooter. I became more aware of this because I work at the hospital formerly known as Mercy. And last week there was a countywide emergency drill. And the scenario was an active shooter at Clear Creek, Amana.
Right.
All the hospitals were supposed to shut down doors. And I had to get, and lots of planning inside, all of which you've read about whenever you've read about school shootings or whatever. But the interesting thing was that because Mercy is a community hospital, you can't get into the university on the other side of the river without being stopped, right? We all know this. And getting a name tag. You can walk into Mercy from any number of access points. And one of the things they talked about was if there really were an active shooter, there'd be tons of people walking into the hospital going, where's my kid? Where's my, I need to see my relative who's a patient here. People just having access and trying to get information. I don't think any of the community, and I include myself and I work there, has a clue about what to do if there's an active shooter situation in the county.
Talk to the public schools.
The public schools know what to do for the public schools, but if you're living a few blocks away from the hospital and you see police cars and ambulances zooming up and hear somewhere that there's a shooter, I mean, I get an alert for the city that there's shooters down, there's gunshots downtown. I don't know how many people are aware of that service, that you can get an alert on your
I
phone.
used to get it, but then I changed phones.
Yeah. So awareness of those kinds of things. I don't want to go into all the
And
details.
a
Yep.
bomb threat would be
Bomb
another.
threats, all
Yep.
those kinds of things. Those kinds of, not the situations you have down there.
Right.
But things that people, that are emergent and fast-changing, and that people will get information and panic and need to know what's going on.
Are we in question 20?
Yep.
Yeah.
I would add television, radio.
Yes.
But also message alerts, SMS
Is
alerts.
there, there could be something like a power outage, we've seen it happen. Could be countywide. Let's just say, all the hospitals are down, and the cell phones were for a while. I don't know if there's an actual community plan for that anymore. I mean, maybe they've never thought about that, but it feels like they should, because it can happen, cybercrime.
Yeah, county has emergency planning. I don't know what detail they go into. I'm assuming Iowa City does, but the entire county in terms of, the smaller townships, if they have plans, I don't know.
And do they have a way to tell us?
Yeah.
Yeah. Conclusions page. This one is fairly straightforward. And there are now. It's just that you have to proactively take the step in going and signing up for it.
You have to think of it and look for it.
Yep.
Oh, the other thing you don't have on here is the sirens.
Oh, storm sirens.
Yeah. I think that's under 20, I guess.
I wish they had different sounds for different storms and an all clear.
Yeah, I never know when another one means again or clear. Different.
Coming from a hometown that was destroyed before there were systems, then there was just one system would go off if there was a tornado coming.
Right.
But in Iowa City, it'll go off if a duck farted the wrong way, I think.
It's not that bad.
Not that bad, but
But, right, if you think about the last storm event that we had, there were,
upteen
the
sirens.
first siren was for the severe thunderstorm, and then the next one was for the tornado, and then there was another one, which at that point I was like,
And also the
I don't
different
know
sirens
what you
go
would.
off at different times.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Any other final thoughts or comments?
All clear would be nice too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get to this page, but I'm thinking it would be nice if there was a service if I wanted to, look for some kind of co-housing arrangement, but I'm not ready to look at independent living retirement homes or something.
There actually is a project underway that's looking at that, and I can't remember whether it's with Iowa City and the university. I think it's a collaborative. They're looking at seniors that are looking for, like, to rent a room out to a graduate student.
Well, I was thinking more of, build a set of buildings where 10 people could go together and say, we want to form a community.
Got it.
But we're all independent.
Right.
A commune.
Well, there is
I think it's very interesting. How do you communicate all of this? Because there's so many other questions than just what's asked. And some of them you won't ask until all of a sudden the need's right there and you need it. You know, most of us, or at least in my circle of friends, probably excluding John because he's more anal than I am. You know, you wait till the last minute to get something arranged for what you need. So I think to me, this whole survey is more thought-provoking than it is informational gathering.
It does both.
Yeah.
It does both.
And but how do you get it to the masses? And then how do you get the responses back? And then how do you communicate what the county really offers to everyone? And I think that is the most difficult aspect, because I don't go to the senior center yet. I don't even know if that, you know, is a source for people to learn. So that's kind of my take. This is very thought-provoking to me, you know. I have a sister that's extremely well emergency prepared. I'm not. You know, if I needed my medications for several days, I don't, you know, I know where they're at, but I don't know if I could get them quick enough.
Right. And that reminds me of something I was going to remind you folks about. The Healthy Aging Fair is going to be Thursday, August 22nd from 9 to noon at the Senior Center. So that's the Healthy Aging Fair, August 22nd, 9 to noon at the Senior Center.
It's a fair, like
Yes.
several.
There'll be multiple vendors there that are all associated with healthy aging. So stop by and check it out. I'll be there probably the whole day.
And that reminds me, a lot of the informational sessions at the senior center were offered during regular working hours. So you couldn't really access them until you were retired.
Well, thank you for your time this morning and answering. Those who didn't finish, if you want to finish it, you can. If you don't want to, that's fine too. Yes, I do want them back.
Thanks. I'd like to thank everybody for sticking around and making me look good to John. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you found it helpful. John, I hope you found it helpful too. This is a highly educated group.